much. That was The Stars Apart, and before that, Tale of Taliesyn. Now we're going to play a tune which is off our Baked Potato CD, I do believe, and this is dedicated to a happening in Alexandra Palace. In apparently, wasn't it Theo, Alexandra Palace? Yeah, 1967. And it was called The 14-Hour Dream. Now, why it was 14 hours? Does that make sense? Maybe it's 7 o'clock at night till 9 o'clock next morning, something like that. Anyway, this is called 14-Hour Dream. We're going to play one more tune for this set, but before we do, I'd like to. I'm going to drop a stool because it's a long history. 55 years. Takes some explaining, doesn't it, really? What's been going on. So basically, the soft machine, as in its first incarnation, went from sort of 1966, 67 till really the end of the 70s, and then there was 1984. So there was a hiatus, but basically been going, as I say, on and off for 55 years. So we reformed in 2004, basically initially called Soft Machine Legacy, which confused everybody. It was Elton Dean, Hugh Hopper, John Marshall and myself. And so this has been going in various incarnations till now, which is 20-year anniversary actually, basically coming up in October, which is also in itself quite amazing. Now, basically in the 70s, in the era of, you've seen the Commitments, haven't you? Well, the soft machine was like the Commitments without anybody speaking. Same sort of vibrations, but without any of the, oh, fuck you, any of that. That all felt inside. So it wasn't really a very happy thing, you know, but it was great music, you know, and I was very, very pleased to be there. I was flattered beyond belief to be asked, you know, so I was really chuffed, even though it was a difficult situation. So then that sort of trundled on, and we played in '84 at Ronnie Scott's and all that, and that sort of backed up. Anyway, so we were put together by an impresario named Leonardo Pavkovic, because basically Elton Dean, Hugh Hopper, John Marshall and me probably wouldn't have been in the same room, certainly in the 70s and 80s. But finally, with time and age and everybody mellowing, it came the right. So Leonardo had this idea, and we sort of went along with it. So it was great. So that was how it started in 2004. Well, basically, instead of leaving in the hump with the hump, which is what people did in the 70s, you know, storming out, or there wasn't, as I said, there was no storming. It was more internal, you know, going off in a bitter sort of eating worms vibe. People went upstairs, you know, and the first one was Elton in 2006. February 2006, and Elton Dean, massive character, a fantastic player, and but he lived his life to the full, as they say in obituaries, and he was very fond of things, and he kind of, I guess, he paid the price for that. But it's interesting, actually. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not going to waffle on, but you know, a lot of people who alcoholics, as it were, are a bit sad, but Elton wasn't sad. It was almost like a conscious decision. This is my first love, and it's going to be my first love, and I will die for my first love. Of course, music was his love as well. So music and you know. So he went, and we had to decide, Hugh Hopper, John Marshall, and myself, who to get, and there wasn't much competition really. There was one guy that we'd all knew, we'd all played with, and he. Been around in the jazz world, but we knew he was much more broader than that. And so he joined in 2006 February. So it's an extraordinarily long tenure he's had as well. Basically, he started on saxophones and a bit of flute, but he's expanded his repertoire. It's amazing. It's wonderful. He's expanded to fill up the voids in the band, and it's a great generosity on his part, I think, to start playing a few chords behind me when we're playing, things like that. I think that's really nice, as well as being very inventive on the keyboards, despite not really, I think you won't mind me saying this here, that you are not exactly a keyboard virtuoso. Yeah, he's a saxophone virtuoso, flute virtuoso, but he's just the right level, actually, to tell you the truth, he's just the right level, for me personally, just the right level of keyboard, because you know, keyboard players and guitar players can have a bit of a complicated relationship. If the keyboard player is really busy, you're going, oh, come on, mate. You know. So I think it's fantastic. And he's got the computer there and everything. And he's got all his loops and he's got everything. And he's got tremendous imagination and things. So, and he's got a Black & Decker workmate, all that, which is very, very handy, you know. We can use it for other things, soldering irons, etc. So So he is the redoubtable, the wonderful, the one and only Mr. Theo Travis. Now, I'm afraid the next guy who went upstairs was Hugh Hopper in 2009. Now, Hugh, wonderful chap actually, very, very gemütlich kind of person. We loved him very dearly. So it was very sad, and he wasn't old, and he wasn't he wasn't somebody who enjoyed his life. And they say in the obituaries, he did enjoy his life, but he wasn't, he wasn't anything of that. It was just he got some awful thing. Anyway, so we got back Roy Babington, who'd been in the band when I was in the band in the 70s. And Roy Babington, we coaxed him out of retirement. He was merrily fishing on the south coast and generally minding his own business. And we went, come on, Roy, get your bass guitar out of hock and come back. And he did. And Roy, I have to say, is still in great nick, apart from, and I say this in every gig, if you've got Viking blood, look out, because you get this thing in your hand. Most gigs somebody says, oh yeah, I've got that, because something happens there, and it's something to do with Viking genetics, and your hand kind of goes like that. Maybe it's gripping the sword, and you jump off the long boat and stab everybody or something. So maybe it comes from that. Anyway, so Roy's hand kind of went like that, and he really couldn't carry on. And he's on our album Other Doors as a guest, because he can play for about 5 minutes, but he can't sustain a gig. But he's in tremendous condition, so if you're concerned about him, which I hope you are, he's really very good nick, 83, rocking. Bottle of wine, fishing, poaching, down on the south coast. So when he went, this guy had been, this is another bloke that I've known all my life, all his life practically. He was a teenager when I first met him and played with him. He's always been an absolute wizard on bass and guitar, and he's played with kind of Canterbury people, Elton Dean, he played with a lot, Phil Miller and all this. So, he was another pretty obvious choice. The great Fred Baker. Now, the last member of that 2004 reunion was John Marshall, and John had health issues for years, When we even started in 2004, he'd sometimes not make the gig, sometimes he would. And he had a really good period around the 2006 to about 2012-13 when he was really on form. But he always had health problems, but he played, he was so keen, he really loved playing and was really into it. And so, for Roy Babington, it's really no loss to him not playing the bass guitar, but to John, he just loved playing, so he lived to play. So he always played if he could manage it, but his health had been bad for a long time. And finally we did a gig at Ronnie Scott's about a year and a half ago. He played like an actual demon, and I looked at him and I thought, this is his thing. And it turned out it was, and so John died last September. But over the period where John was been ill, we had a lot of substitute drummers, all great, I have to say. They were all marvellous. But we had to we had to decide, and we thought, well, this gentleman here, who, by the way, before I go on, is actually playing John Marshall's kit, John Marshall's Sonor kit. He had a lot of them, and they've been bequeathed to our great tour manager, Mr. Nick Etheridge, who's over there, who will be selling you the merch, who is the ultimate Soft Machine fan, and he has John Marshall's drum kit. So Asaf has agreed to play with this wonderful kit, which I think is a good kit, isn't it? Yeah. Beautifully made in Germany. John was a Sonor in Dorsey, one of the famous ones. And anyway, so we sort of, in the end we decided, and I think we made a very good decision, because this is a truly great drummer, Mr. Asaf Sirkis.
And there's one more musician of
Is
this
there?
fine ensemble, guitarist extraordinaire, and a musician of legendary status, I think you would say. He joined the Soft Machine in the year 1975, so 49 years, incredible 49 years in the Soft Machine. But there were periods when the band wasn't doing so much, particularly in the late 1980s, as was said. During which time he was hugely in demand in the jazz scene, in other progressive bands like Caravan and Hawkwind, but also by mega classical musicians like John Williams, the wonderful guitarist, and Nigel Kennedy. And his guitar playing has been hailed not just by Soft Machine fans, who've obviously enjoyed it for many, many years, but by some pretty mega musicians, like Sting of the Police famously said, I never wanted to be a star, I just wanted to be a respected musician like this man. Or Jimi Hendrix himself, who in the late 1960s used to follow him around the clubs in central London and used to literally love to go and hear his playing. So a pretty amazing history there. He is, of course, the one and only Mr. John Etheridge.
Yeah, cool. I like that bit of delay pedal, that's good. Good, hear your name repeated over and over again. What's more for the egomaniac? Right. So we're going to do one more tune for you in this set, and this is a Mike Ratledge tune. Great Mike Ratledge, who also is in fantastic condition. In fact, I was talking to him yesterday. We have regularly have meet up for cups of tea. And he looks almost exactly the same, you'd be glad. Very thin. Brilliant. 81, 82, something like that. Anyway, this tune is by him. It's called Gesolreut. Thank you very much.